closer look at it. We want to be sure that's accurate. And then item 10A1, that's an Archco conditional use approval extension. The applicant has withdrawn as of this afternoon. That item, Planning Commission had not recommended approval, and they withdrew. And then, as I emailed you about this afternoon, we have one item of other business, item 11A, and that's an alcohol beverage license for, it's Friendship Foods, but that's Country's Barbecue. They'll be doing some things of the tailgating nature on campus, and they need month by month, we may be going through this. So for the first 2 games in September, they need a special event license to be able to vend out alcohol out of a specific location. People have to come there and collect it and then carry it back to their tailgate locations.
Okay. All right. Any questions for the city manager? Okay. Is there a move to adjourn the committee of the whole?
So moved.
All right. Committee of the whole is adjourned. We'll get started with the regular meeting right at 6 o'clock. Please continue your conversations if you'd like. We'll call to order tonight's city council meeting for August the 19th, 2025. Welcome all of you who are joining us live here in the council chambers, as well as those that are listening on WANI radio and watching through our streaming services. With the roll call, Lindsay?
Adams.
Here.
Koblenz.
Here.
Dawson.
Here.
Griswold.
Here.
Mormon.
Here.
Parsons.
Here.
Taylor. Here. Witten.
Here.
Anders.
Here. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. During the committee of the whole, there were a number of administrative changes that the city manager passed on to us tonight. There are a couple of items on our in our agenda that have been postponed or withdrawn this evening, and then there was one new item that was added to our agenda tonight. As far as mayor's announcements, just quickly, I want to say how excited I am personally for the Pearson Park opening on Monday. This is a new passive park on Shelton Road in Auburn, and we look forward to finally getting that open and celebrating. I want to thank Auburn University's Real Estate Foundation, the late Ann Pearson, and her vision for what that property that she left the city and the university would be utilized. And thank you for all the cooperation. There was a very kind benefactor through the process as well. Also, our new fields at Lake Wilmore have been open for the last 2 days for activities, and it is very encouraging to know that the children are out there playing and practicing even as we speak right now. And just thankful for those 4 new fields. I appreciate the city council supporting that project and the Parks and Rec advisory team recommending that project, and our staff with Parks and Rec helping us get to the finish line. And we look forward to a lot of joy that will come from those fields. I want to thank Neely Caldwell, who's Executive Director of the Christian Women's Job Corps, for inviting me to their annual meeting recently, where Auburn's new women's basketball coach was a speaker and did an excellent job, and I look forward to his work here at Auburn. But more importantly for this, I want to thank Neely and the organization of the Christian Women's Job Corps for what they're doing to help women in need find jobs in our community. They're doing a fantastic job with that. Want to remind everybody that high school football starts this Friday night, and both of our local teams at Auburn High and Lee Scott will be playing their first games here on Friday night. And what an exciting time of year as our young people that live with us, that have grown up with us, have been practicing for a long time, whether they're on the football team, the band, or the cheerleaders, or the flag corps. There's a lot of young people that have been practicing, getting ready for Friday night, and I appreciate their parents and the schools supporting these endeavors and these opportunities for them. I want to say congratulations to our economic development team, our industrial development team. We were recently recognized as a top 10 area for small businesses for the best business climate in the United States from Business Facilities Magazine. And so, Mr. Dunlap, congratulations. I don't think this is the first time we've been recognized by this organization, but it's always nice to remain in their top 10, and that's from a lot of hard work that comes from you and your staff. So congratulations. We certainly want to pride ourselves as a place that's good to do business. And then I know our neighborhood conference was last weekend, and city manager, I didn't know if we could get a small report on that. I've only heard wonderful things from the participants, but I appreciate the effort that we take to inform those in our community who want to understand how the city works, and in particular things that are relative to their community, their neighborhood.
That small report would need to come from Allison Blankenship, our Director of City Relations, who is not ready to stand up, but she wants to stand up, and here she comes up to the podium as I speak.
She received a small hint this afternoon in City Hall.
Well, it's a good thing she had a hint, the city manager did not, but that's okay.
I don't know if I fully understood the hint, but I got it now. Thank you, Mayor and Council. It was a very successful event. We had a great turnout. We had really great speakers that represented multiple departments, and a good keynote. And we really we had a good time and informed the residents and got a lot of compliments from it. So I think it was successful.
Good. Thank you for
thank
making
you.
the time to do that. Thank you for
Yeah.
your leadership. We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank
Good.
you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else have an announcement or something like to bring up? Okay. We'll move ahead. Auburn University Communications. There she is.
Hey,
Welcome back.
It's good to be back. So Saturday was bid day, and over 2,000 girls received bids from sororities. And then yesterday was the first day of class, so it's great to see everyone back on campus. It's been super, super busy. And then top 5 Miss Homecoming call-outs actually just happened. They just posted it on the SGA website. And then those girls will campaign on Homecoming week, and then they will announce who is the Homecoming Queen on September 13th at the Homecoming game. And then the AI store underneath the Edge Dining, it's like a new store, and there's like no people working there. It's like a grab and go, and everything is checkout with AI. That's a new store that is up and running, opened yesterday. So far, it's been successful. I've yet to visit though. And then the SGA Fall Retreat is this Sunday, and then meetings for SGA will start next week. So, yep, not too much going on. Thank you, and War Eagle.
Thank you, Evelyn. Glad to have you back. Glad to have our students back in town, for sure. All right, this time is citizens' communications on items on our agenda. If you'd like to speak to the city council about any item on our agenda, this would be the time to do that. I would ask you if you'd like to speak on an item in the resolution category, which there are 3 items, item 10, 2, 3, and 4, that you wait, 10A, 2, 3, and 4, excuse me. If you wait till then, there will be a public hearing for each of those 3 items. But if you'd like to speak to the city council about anything else, please come forward and give us your name and address for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes to speak to the council.
Robert Wilkins, 261 Denson Drive, Auburn, Alabama. Item 10B, is that not, that's not on the red or later, is it?
That's good. 10B is good.
10B to please postpone. I want to read the Auburn citizens' email that was addressed to Megan McGowan, our city manager, and carbon copied to Mayor Anders and all of the council. Dear council members, I'm asking that the Auburn City Council postpone item 10B2 under resolution on August 19, 2025, council agenda until first council meeting in September. The purpose is to get a better understanding of what the citizens receive for the $300,000 audit. Also, the finance director of Mansion McChesney, informed the council and the citizens of Auburn the various kinds of audits that are available, their purpose, and where those audits fit into. Explain the process of how Mansion McChesney has continued to receive the pleasure of performing the Auburn city audits for decades. Maybe a change is due in getting a better perspective on our city financials. Please take the audit statement by Mansion McChesney that I have attached and show to your accountant or a friend that is an accountant to explain the value of the 2024 annual comprehensive financial report audit statement that is on page 25 through 28. I appreciate all that each of you do for the city of Auburn, Robert Wilkins, an Auburn citizen, Ward 5. I sent this email the past Sunday evening. I hope each of you council members asked your accountant or a friend accountant the value of the city audit. My opinion, in conjunction with 3 different CPAs that I presented the 2024 audit statement to them, it says it's worthless. The city of Auburn should go through the same quality state audits that each government and the state departments go through. Councilman Griswold has stated on numerous times that Auburn is unique and different from other cities. City of Auburn should take the leadership role that no other Alabama city has taken. Mayor Anders, you're the leader for the Big Ten, which is the top 10 largest Alabama cities. Show the other 9 cities that leadership is what it's all about. Conduct the city audit by the state of Alabama. We Auburn citizens believe in a real audit. We're not interested in a sugar-coated, make-believe full audit. Please, as a city member, do not sit there in your seats and tell me I'm wrong. Research and prove to me I'm wrong with facts, not your opinions. The records generated and maintained by the city of Auburn should be audited for financial and legal compliance by the state of Alabama Examiner of Public Accounts. Can we have a real audit? Please postpone.
Anyone else? Anyone else like to speak about anything on our agenda except for the 3 items and resolutions? Yes, sir.
Good evening. Let me ask, is agenda item 10A3 something we can speak to now?
No, sir. We'd like for you to wait until the public hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you asking. Anyone else?
I didn't finish Grand Junction,
Nope.
Cherry Street. It's not
Oh,
possible.
No, sir. You had your 5 minutes.
there's a public hearing on the Grand
Yeah,
Junction.
there's a public hearing
Yeah.
on that.
You'll have a chance to
Yeah.
talk about that.
Anyone else? Okay. City managers' communications.
Mayor, under City Manager's Communications, as you previously mentioned, item 9A1 is off the agenda, removed by staff for further review. Something 10A1 about the Archco Apartments has been removed by the applicant, and then we've added item 11A. It's a alcohol beverage special events license, something having to do with football season, that we'll get to at the end of the agenda. I'd also like to announce that we have 2 vacancies on the Industrial Development Board for terms that begin October 10th and end October 9th, 30/31. The appointments will be made at the September 16th meeting. 1 vacancy on the Lee County Youth Development Center Board for a term that begins October 1, 2025 and ends September 30th, 2029. Sorry, your agenda said 20th, but it's 30th. The appointment will be also made at the September 16th meeting. There are 2 vacancies on the West Page Village Improvement District. 1 term begins upon appointment and ends September 15th, 2030, and 1 term begins September 16th and ends September 15th, 2031. The appointments will be made at the September 16th meeting. Are you ready for the consent agenda?
Please.
Our first item of business is the consent agenda. Does any council member wish to remove an item from the consent agenda and deal with that item individually?
Yes, Max?
Item 10C1, please.
C1. Anyone else?
8C1.
I'm sorry, 8C1, excuse me. I got ahead of myself.
Anyone else?
8C2, please.
8C2. Okay. Anyone else? Yes.
8C3 and 4.
All right. 8C1.
Item 8C1 authorizes a 3-year agreement with the Auburn City Board of Education for school resource and K-9 officers.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Mr. Koblenz?
I just wanted to pull this item off and just highlight the positives of the school resource officers and the great job that these guys and gals do serving our schools. It's a very positive interaction for our kids to see officers in our schools and interact with them on a daily basis, and the teaching opportunities that these gentlemen and women and gentlemen have with these kids is great. So I'm just very appreciative that our community can do this for our school system, and our school system is supportive of this. And just want to highlight these folks and the great job that they do for our schools.
Thank you, Mr. Koblenz. Anyone else? Comment or thought? Okay. 100% agree. All right. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. 8C2.
Item 8C2 authorizes an infrastructure development agreement with the Market Auburn LLC for a project known as the Market Auburn that is located on both Wright Street and Toomer Street.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Mr. Griswold?
Thank you. I've got 2 concerns about this development agreement. The first, if you'll look at section 2, paragraph M, that's M for Mike. It notes the city will coordinate with the developer to secure any required easements from private property owners and assist in working with utility companies for any necessary utility relocations. What concerns me is it says later that the city will reimburse the developer for these improvements. And then it says that over in section 7, compensation, the city may pay the developer up to $85,000 as described in section 2M, which is what I just read from you, for you. The city doesn't need these improvements. These resulting improvements that may result for securing additional required easements and working with utility companies is only necessary because the developer is developing. So I'm curious as to why the city should be tasked with reimbursing them as stated in section 7.
It's very simple. The development, whether the development happens or not, the city is obligated to do some streetscape improvements here. So while the developer has the road torn up on Toomer Street or the sidewalk and so on, they're installing streetscape improvements we were long ago committed to, that we have funds from another development that was built on Glen Avenue to help fund. And so we're taking those funds, using them here. We're not having to mobilize a separate contractor. And so the development, this wouldn't be in here if they had said, no, we're not willing to partner with you. This never would have shown up in the development agreement. And so it's similar to a case you spoke at a previous meeting, that we're asking somebody to do something above and beyond the scope. We don't have a legal nexus to make them do these improvements, but we asked in the spirit of partnership, and they complied as long as we pay for it. So the acquisition of easements has to do with, it's not their responsibility. Anything that they need for their development, they will have to acquire easements for of their own accord. But for work we're asking them to do for us, we are also willing to help acquire the easements because it's work that the city would like done.
Okay. All right,
Before you move on there, what would compel us to do these streetscape improvements?
Trying to get a consistent streetscape in this area. I can have our development services folks speak to it, but when a project was built at 250 West Glen, the then Assistant City Manager, Kevin Cowper, insisted on money for streetscape improvements from a development for Toomer Street. The city has yet to perform that project, and those funds can only be used for a streetscape improvement on Toomer Street. So as private developments have gone along Toomer Street, they have paid for sections in front of them, and this is for us to pay for a section that is not in front of anything that's been redeveloping. Miss anything, Scott?
No, that's correct.
Hold on a second. Greg's gonna get you. Okay.
Am I good now? Okay. No, that's correct. That's this piece here, we would end up constructing whether they're doing this project or not at some point. If they didn't do this project, we'd be constructing the rest of Toomer Street streetscape. We're improving sidewalk on both sides, providing ped lights and other things that are associated with the streetscape improvements. We've not designed this yet, or they have not designed this yet to figure out all the utility conflicts or potential easements. The whole thing is that if there are issues there, we're not going to hold them hostage over not being able to deliver that project and get a CO for their project, because this is something for the city, not required for them.
well, there's another statement in here that says, in exchange for impacts on public right-of-way, developer will do these things, develop so-and-so. I mean, I would think that we would have something along the lines of, in exchange for 2.5 years of impacts on public access and inconvenience and parking, the developer would be willing to lean over backwards to accommodate us. In my opinion, Auburn is a very, very desirable place for developers. There's no doubt about it. They're all gonna make a bunch of money off this stuff. And we seem to just make it really, really easy. And I would prefer that developers have their feet held to the fire. And if there's any opportunity for us to say, would you please do something? I know we can't mandate it, but would you please do something? Why don't we ask them to do something?
That's what we do all day, every day. The staff sits in hours of meetings asking for everything that we can get. The developer has a right to say no. We try to be reasonable in that. That's the request here. In terms of our ability, legally, we can't compel anybody to do things that they don't want to do. In the spirit of partnership, they do, but they have a development right on this property, and it's a balance for us that we're trying to strike. And so that letter H that you're referring to is also the improvements they have to make in the right-of-way per our requirements, which they are making. In terms of Toomer Street, not all of you would have gotten information from me. They will not Toomer Street, I'm sorry, Wright Street. They will take up 5 parking spaces for the duration of construction. Some will be open, not for parking, but pedestrian walking during football. They will pay $1 an hour for every day they block those spaces. It's roughly $20,000 for the duration of the project, because they are taking away metered spaces in the downtown area. They are gonna net gain 2 spaces. They're adding 2 additional spaces, so obviously they don't have to pay for spaces that don't exist. On Toomer Street, we don't have on-street parking right now, and so they don't pay for that. And we have talked with the city attorneys ad nauseum of how do we put a value on the sidewalk being closed, and we have not found a legal mechanism that works to put a value on the loss of use of that sidewalk for a duration. And we have to have a study that determines that value to be able to charge it to them. And if we thought we could find that value somewhere that was defensible legally, we would certainly do that.
And so why isn't this $1 per day or whatever it was you mentioned included in the development
It
agreement?
doesn't have to be because it's already a city policy. Any downtown merchant that has work going on in their business, we charge their contractor every time they ask to block a space. So that's de facto happening and doesn't have to be memorialized. Just like every requirement that we have for this development is not in the development agreement because it resides in our development regulations. And so it's the same idea here.
Okay. I certainly am not aware of that. I don't know if anybody else ever heard of such a thing. I see a lot of heads going, no. But 2.5 years worth of inconvenience to the city is allowed under this development agreement. 2.5 years. Frankly, I'm flabbergasted that we would think this is a good thing to do. So, okay, I'm done.
But we couldn't stop it if we wanted to. It's by right, correct?
They can build the project. You, the council, have the right to stop people from using the right-of-way. However, typically, projects have been allowed to use the right-of-way, and we can go in an executive session and talk at some point in time about the legal ramifications thereof. It's the same with tower crane agreements and other things. You can say no, that it can't swing over the public right-of-way. What we're trying to avoid, and we have a lot of professional experts on staff, is we're trying to minimize disruption to the Auburn citizens and visitors. In this case, they're taking both Toomer Street and Wright Street and pulling off to the side of the road where we can still facilitate traffic, deliveries to Target, access to our parking deck, other residential projects in the area, and they're pulling to the side of the road to offload. Otherwise, they can back onto their site from Wright Street and block everybody's ability to get up and down Wright Street while they're backing into the site to do their deliveries.
They would have the right to do that if we did not.
They would have the right to do that, and we would have to deal with the aftermath. So the choice given to the staff was, and it's not a threat from the developer. They've got to build their project. So our choice was, what is the least egregious thing to the Auburn citizens, and that is why this recommendation came through. I can certainly say if the council wants things done differently, we need to make different rules and regulations, because we are also in a position where we do have to let people build projects, and we've got to figure out a way. And if it is no disruption to the right-of-way, that's going to be challenging for anybody to build a project, and you can't just put it on the urban core. It has to be citywide, same rules apply.
Yeah, I appreciate that this is allowed by right, that's fine. But I don't see how an occasional delivery, an occasional blockage of the road for somebody to back in there equates to 2.5 years of
There is
closure.
nothing occasional about a project like this. It
At
is,
some point there would be. I mean, you don't see people riding up and down over here on Mag every single day trying to back into the bank. So anyway, that's arguable, but go ahead.
no, it's okay. I mean, the AC Hotel still gets deliveries on the daily. City Hall's right across the street from it. They're still working on it. And so it's certainly up to the council. Our staff's job is to do the best we can for the citizens of Auburn, and that's what we've done here, in our opinion.
Just to piggyback on what was just said, this is one of three things that this the item
Yes, sir.
pertains to. And the first of these is an infrastructure agreement.
Yes, sir.
Part of that is that we're allowing parking in 5 places, and they're paying for that parking.
Correct.
Are there other parts of the infrastructure agreement that stand out notably, or is that parking the main issue for that portion?
No, I mean, this development agreement is talking about all their construction logistics, when they can block things, when they can't, based on football. It's very complicated in terms of, the whole flow of the process over 2.5 years, plus tower cranes gets memorialized here.
Okay, sure. I'm sorry.
They are contributing to paying for retiming of some of the signals. That was something that came out of the traffic impact study.
Is that something that's in the agreement, or
That is in the agreement, yes.
It's
sir.
in there, but also by right. And no, we did not include the on-street parking piece because that happens routinely. And I told you guys Thursday, that's a question I had for the staff that I've rectified in between. But they would have to do the traffic improvements regardless of the development agreement, because that's also a development manual requirement.
Any other
Councilman
comments, questions?
Griswold, are you through with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are 2 other parts to this that we're voting on tonight. And that is the tower crane agreement, number
Correct.
2. Would that have to do with placement and swing area and?
Just mainly has to do with swing area. It shows you where they're going to be, but it's the radius in which the crane will swing. So any property that is not theirs, that it swings over, they've got to get an agreement from that property owner. It's also a liability. So part of the reason we do this is if it's going to swing over the public right-of-way, we want them to take all liability for it. You do have the right, and we've discussed this before, to say no. However, we've approved a ton of tower crane agreements to date.
What would happen if we say no? What does,
Then they can't swing over the public right-of-way. The radius of the crane cannot swing over the public right-of-way.
would that cause the construction project to take longer, I would suppose?
I couldn't speak to
That's
that
In theory.
in
So-
theory,
so that-
because right now they're parking on the public right-of-way with their deliveries. So they're gonna have to lower a crane over the public right-of-way to get to that. If you say no to the tower cranes, then swinging over the right-of-way, they're gonna have to back their equipment down onto the property. And I assure you, it will be lots of blockage of road. Wright Street's very active if you haven't spent much time there. And we're only allowing, I think it's 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. deliveries. We have a time restriction, something like that.
Yes.
Is the city comfortable with the tower agreement, with the crane agreement?
Yes.
Okay. The third thing is temporary shoring and anchoring portion, and this is retaining walls.
It anchors in, I can let one of our engineers talk about, we've done this with other projects, but whichever engineer, roll the dice, here we go.
So when they excavate down next to an existing right-of-way or an easement or adjoining property, they put in a temporary shoring system. And so instead of building a retaining wall or you've seen them drive in the sheet piles and things like that vibrate everybody around them, they actually insert these like different types of devices. Sometimes they use like a soil nail, as they call it, or something, but it actually anchors basically just a sprayed-on concrete wall and holds that steady while they build their basement area up around those until they can actually shore that area up. But it's a temporary shoring, and those are cut loose from as far as any tension goes when they're done. The depths of these will be below any existing utilities.
Okay, the terms soil nail, that's not quite right.
That's
What
what
did
they
you
call them, but yes.
Soil nail?
Yes.
What is that?
It's just like you can either drill a metal piece into the soil so that it won't pull out, or they actually use a tension if you just were to drive a steel rod deep into the soil, and the tension actually holds it from pulling out.
And you said spray on concrete or
Yeah,
something?
it's just a grout wall that you spray on there, and it secures it and holds it steady for a temporary use.
And
It
then they'll
wouldn't be a
cut the
permanent.
tension, when the project is built, they cut the tension, and so you leave a little piece of it in the right of way, but the rest of it it's no longer needed
Are
when the
there any
structure is built.
concerns about these two techniques and other techniques?
No, they've been used several times throughout the city, and they're used quite commonly.
When we first started seeing these, we did a lot of research with other cities and got comfortable with the language, and the base agreement you see here is something developed several years ago because of that. And we looked at Atlanta specifically, who was dealing with it a lot.
could this development take place without a development agreement? Is that just? And
I
then
mean, development agreement or crane agreement? Which one?
development agreement.
The development agreement speaks specifically to how they will handle logistics and things like that, so we can hold them accountable. I think that's one of the key points.
The purpose of the development agreement is to is to give us a degree of control over how this is developed.
Correct.
And
it's things not
construction
captured
project.
otherwise, where we don't have in any of our manuals construction hours related to football. But we do in development agreements because we want to restrict deliveries and other actions on site on football Fridays and Saturdays specifically because it's so disruptive to what's going on. There are things that are memorialized in here that we don't have a way to really memorialize otherwise, but theoretically one could take place. But to Scott's point, there's even a new section in here about we have the right to issue some citations and do other things. We're having market issues with contractors blocking the right-of-way when they have no permission to do so, and just putting cones out on the road and doing what they feel like doing. And we have been shutting construction sites down lately, and the police have been showing up to tell them that they have no right to block the right-of-way right now. So we're trying to rectify some of those things before we get a regulatory item in these agreements. And it's a catch-all to see some of the nuances of a project.
What is the historical duration of city disruption or road disruption, whatnot, with some of these other large-scale projects, like the one on Magnolia or the one down on Glen, way down on Glen, or the AC Hotel?
2 to 2.5 years typically.
Yeah, I think this schedule is very much in line with any of those larger scale projects. for
2.5 years.
Yes, 18 months to 2 years, so yes, it takes that long.
18 months and 2 years is a long way from 2.5 years, but okay, that, you answered my question. Thank
Depends
you.
on the scope of the project. This is a massive project, so.
It's a unique project though, because it's, as opposed to taking up the length of it along one entire street, it's between two streets.
Yeah.
So I think from a disruption point, it's not, like we've seen with some on Glen, it's taken up a lot longer, bit of sidewalk, scaffolding required. The development agreement, in my opinion, is to, for safety reasons as much as anything. I'm still trying to figure out what issues, Councilman Griswold, you're concerned about that you would like us to change if we, as a council, with regard to this agreement. For us to not pay them $85,000, or I didn't hear an ask with your comments.
I didn't offer an ask.
Okay.
Offering input and stating what my concerns are, that we're paying for things that are necessary because of the project and not necessarily something we would do regardless. Wright Street, the streetscape, there's nothing spectacular about the streetscape. So if we have to acquire a right-of-way or relocate utilities as a result of this project, I don't think we should bear the cost. That's my comment.
All right.
Megan, can you speak to, historically, projects like this, the parking, whether we try to work to gain any public parking as part of working with these developments? This is a fairly large deck being built, and obviously it would open up additional parking opportunity for us possibly as part of this agreement. Can you speak to?
We did years ago with some of the earlier projects. We found them to be cost prohibitive in terms of what they wanted to charge us per space to buy into the project or long-term leases, so we haven't explored that in a while. Part of that is because of the $16 million we spent on the Wright Street parking deck, which is its occupancy and daily use is increasing, but it is still not full. We are challenged in the urban core too by a finite amount of retail space of which people can visit. And so right now, from a staff perspective, we feel that we've got adequate parking. The other challenge is we can't partner with somebody for parking that is required for their use. So they would have to build additional parking. And this particular project, the council would not have been involved, actually asked for a variance to do less parking and was denied by the BZA, and then came forward and met the parking requirement.
Okay.
And so we haven't pursued lately. We are not currently seeking as a staff additional parking because we feel that we have adequate public parking. Probably our next parking delivery will be that we have to deal with the Gay Street parking deck. The original municipal parking deck is getting to the end of its lifespan, and we're going to have to deal with that at some point in time. Probably in the next 10 years, Dan, is that about right? 10 years or less?
Correct.
Okay.
Could a PUD, the ordinance, be used in congruence with this to negotiate parking as part of this?
Are PUDs allowed in the urban core? I can't remember.
Yeah. So PUDs are allowed in the urban core.
I'm just kind of struggling, kind of thinking about the incentive of public parking, because I guess it'd be a trade-off of whatever parking was required. It'd almost be like giving them a break on parking for if they were to allow a percentage to be accessible to the public, just because oftentimes I wouldn't say they push back on that, but they would just push back entirely on having to build a number of parking. I guess if we were gonna make it accessible to the public, it'd almost have to be on-street parking, which is the only ask that I've been that I've been approached with is for on-street public parking, not necessarily structured public parking.
Yeah, I mean, a PUD theoretically, you could, it doesn't, in the urban core also, you have setbacks and so on for a project of this size that are, we're almost zero lot line, just depending on what they're doing, so there's not a huge advantage to a PUD in this case. And I don't know, it would be hard for the staff to get behind providing some public parking of which somebody's going to charge for and do it, do whatever. I don't know if it would be an ownership of the city or what have you, but structured spaces, I don't know if Kevin Howard knows right now, they used to run $15,000 to $30,000 a space or more, and they're probably way higher than that now. 45 or 50 grand a space easily. And so, it's something we can always explore. And if somebody approaches us with the right partnership, we can certainly bring it forward to the council. But at this stage, all of their parking is required parking.
If they determined after being fully built and in use that they are not filling up their parking because residents are not utilizing it, could they?
Theoretically, and on the public record, I'm going to be clear, nobody should be leasing out their required parking.
Okay, thank you.
While indeed it does go on, the city cannot condone that because it's required for the use on their property. Our ordinance doesn't speak to that, and it's challenging for it to do so, but yes.
Megan, is it fair to say that the development agreements that we see we don't get to see them in their beginning form? We see them after a period of protracted negotiation with the developer, so it's.
You often see them
they're-
6 to 12 months into the project, typically for us, from first conversations to here is in that time frame, because we're past the development review team process typically, or deep enough into it, we can formulate one.
So they're likely things, or they're things that staff has probably requested and asked for, and the developer has decided not to play ball with us there, and we've tried to negotiate other items into the agreement that we would find, or that the staff believes.
We certainly negotiate what we can, but I also, want to be careful. We don't look at it, let's get everything that we can get either. Our goal here is folks are investing money. The city's not recruiting this style of project. It comes, they are investing a lot of money. And a common answer around the table is your property taxes are going to increase. And again, we're not recruiting these projects. That is part of it. There is truth to that property taxes do increase because of these. So we are allowed to ask for whatever we wish, and we push people's buttons as far as we can. And I get complaints from some of you about the buttons that we push when asking for things. We're happy to do that. We do in our professional opinion when things are necessary. In terms of asking for more than what is necessary, that would be an unusual ask from the staff.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we've got a motion, we got a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
One nay. All right.
Item 8C3 authorizes a deposit agreement with LCD Acquisitions LLC for third-party plan review for the Market Auburn.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Mr. Mormon?
Thank you. I wanted to highlight that this item, the item before and the item after, all pertain to the same project. And in a broad overview, this is part of the city's desire to, I guess, encourage students to live west of College Street. Is that okay to say or fair to say?
Well, I think the city manager just made it clear that we've not recruited any of these companies to come to our
But I-
community, these projects to come
That's
to our
correct.
community.
The city's not recruiting, because that's been a question among our citizens is, are you recruiting these projects? The answer is no. Our commercial development director or economic development director, they're not out there recruiting. However, from a zoning perspective, I believe Councilman Mormon is what you're saying. And the goal was years ago, if we were going to have denser development, it was to be in this urban neighborhood west, which urban neighborhood west, right? This correlates with the urban core and urban neighborhood west. It's a little bit of both. And the goal was to allow the density here where students were the closest to campus, to that Magnolia side of campus, and to be walkable. And where typically our average citizens don't spend a lot of time other than visiting a few restaurants in the area and passing through.
Lowers the number of, well, never mind.
Well, it was trying to lower vehicle trips to the area, Sonny, and trying to get a lot more pedestrians. And from the frustrations we get about the Magnolia crosswalk at Chick-fil-A, there's a lot of pedestrians there. So that part is working. And our planning director is very passionate about the walkability of the area in terms of, we are seeing, that was a good question I had from some council members recently, are we seeing people walk in this area? We are. The hope was to get some people out of their cars by parking here and doing that, and that's working, but I think it, remains to be determined how people generally feel about the zoning that allows it.
And this particular item is a third-party plan review.
Yes, sir.
Is that a common practice to bring in third-party reviewers?
So with these large projects, we talked about one at a previous meeting, the reason that we're doing this is we have other people building other things in Auburn. We have a limited staff that reviews building plans. And what we want to do is not bring to a screeching halt the review of all other plans in the city while we review such a large building. So one thing that we've really stepped up our game on is ask for third-party review. The end user gets review relatively fast. It meets all the same criteria, and it keeps our staff moving on everybody else's projects, swimming pools, garage additions, and other commercial and residential projects throughout the city. The beauty of this is the developer pays 100% of that cost. It actually used to be that there was a split. There's no longer a split. They're fully funding.
What's the anticipated cost?
$78,000.
You done?
I think so.
Okay. Any other comments, questions related to this?
Which one's which? Which one are we on? B?
8C3.
Okay. So the tower, this the tower crane part?
No, the tower crane was part of the development agreement.
I have a belated question on the tower. I know I'm not changing anything, but the tower crane agreement, Glenn's not shown on the map. Does it go all the way to Glenn?
No.
No? Okay.
Nope. This is between the West and Right project and another project closer to McDonald's.
Okay, thanks.
Any other comments? All right, we have motion and second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries.
Item 8C4 authorizes task order IS02 with HR Green Incorporated for building plan reviews for the Market Auburn in the amount of $78,000.
Move for approval.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Mr. Mormon.
Thank you. The last one actually was a deposit, and that we covered that from a deposit standpoint or just the third-party plan review. This item differs from that in that it's a building plan agreement. Could you
So this is the actual contract with the company that's going to review the plans. There's a task order at the previous council meeting, you approved it. Overall, us doing business with this company, this is the second set of plans that they're reviewing for us, so task order number 2. The previous item is a deposit agreement from the developer so that the funds are on hand. We want to be sure the citizens of Auburn understand they're not paying for this plan review. So that's the purpose of the deposit agreement.
Thanks, well said.
Any other questions? All right, we have a motion second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve the balance of the consent agenda? Motion is second. Any further questions, comments? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the consent agenda is approved. Ordinance.
Under ordinances, item 9A1 is no longer on the agenda. Item 9A2 is a request from Donald Langford to annex approximately 14.7 acres of property located south of 4474 Sand Hill Road. Planning Commission recommended denial of this request by a vote of 7-1 at its August 14th meeting. Unanimous consent is necessary.
I'll introduce the ordinance and ask for unanimous consent.
Second.
A motion is second. Does anyone on the council have a problem moving forward with a vote on this evening? Seeing and hearing none, any comments or questions?
Mr. Mayor, I just say this is a kind of a unique case, and doesn't really have any access to Sand Hill Road, and the real reason why of why this property is being annexed. So I'm not in favor of supporting this annexation tonight.
Okay. All right. Anyone else have anything they'd like to say? Okay, Lindsay with the roll call.
Dawson,
No, ma'am.
Griswold,
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Parsons,
No.
Taylor,
No.
Witten,
No.
Adams,
No.
Koblenz,
No, ma'am.
Anders.
No. Resolutions.
All right, item 10A1 has been withdrawn from by the applicant. So item 10A2 is a request for an extension of the conditional use approval for a road service use, which was a fast food with drive-through for a project known as Cafe Racer, located at 220 Opelika Road in the Corridor Redevelopment Urban Zoning District. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of this request at its August 14th meeting. A public hearing is required.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion is second. This time I'll open the public hearing. If you'd like to address city council about this, please come forward and give us your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes to speak to the council. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any comments or questions from the council? All right, we have a motion second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries.
Item 10A3 is a request by RNC Enterprises LLC for conditional use approval for a 510-square-foot package store to be located within the existing footprint of the corner market located at 844 Martin Luther King Drive. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended denial of this request with one recusal at its August 14th meeting. A public hearing is required.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, have a motion second. I'll open the public hearing. If you'd like to address city council about this, please come forward and give us your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes to speak to the council. Yes, sir.
Good evening again.
Good evening.
My name is Stephen Falk. I serve as pastor of Auburn AME Zion Church, 576 Martin Luther King Drive, here in the great city of Auburn, Alabama. Come before you again to thank you for your awesome leadership for the city of Auburn, as well as to ask your consideration not to approve the package store on Martin Luther King Drive. As we've been before you before to request that package and liquor stores not be within the proximity of the church for various reasons, as well as for this community. There are already 2 liquor stores in close proximity of the church. This, if approved, becomes the 3rd liquor store. It is within 500 feet of one church and approximately 1,000 feet of Auburn AME Zion Church. Several of our leaders from the church are here tonight as we again oppose any liquor store by anybody. There are 2 already, which one was there before I became pastor, and the other was approved afterwards without us having an opportunity to speak to it. So we're here to ask that you would deny this approval. A letter has been sent to you outlining some of our reasons and oppositions to this liquor store. And we just simply ask that if we could look for other things to bring to our community besides a liquor store. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pastor Falk. Who'll be next? Anyone? Okay. We'll close the public hearing. Any discussion or comments from the council?
Just a point of order, I guess. This does not include beer or wine. This, what we're discussing tonight. A package store does not. Let me rephrase
Theoretically, a
that.
package store can sell that, but this is about liquor. I believe that the corner market already has the ability to sell beer and wine.
Right.
And a license would have been issued by the council, but that wouldn't have required a conditional use.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Motion fails.
All right, item 10A4 is a request for conditional use approval of a commercial and entertainment use event space as a component of a mixed-use development to be located at 1027 East Glen Avenue in the Corridor Redevelopment District, East Zoning District. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of this request and included a condition that any event that requires overflow parking requires a contract to be presented to staff. They did this at their July 10th meeting after a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Witten and a second by Councilman Adams for approval at the last meeting, or our July 22nd city council meeting. Councilman Adams moved to postpone this item to August 19th to further discuss parking concerns. A public hearing is required.
Before we go to the public hearing, is it appropriate for the council to be able to ask questions,
Absolutely.
make comments? Okay, does the council have any questions they'd like to ask before we open the public hearing?
I would like to give a little bit of a backstory to those that are here as to how we got here and the reason that this was pulled off. The Planning Commission had requested that we add a parking condition or a requirement that we put a parking agreement in place before. What we wanted to do is take the time to make sure that that language was correct. We felt comfortable with it when it's put in the actual conditional use approval. So we worked with staff. We also worked with the developer to make sure that everybody understood what the obligations were. And we put something in place that I am comfortable with. I do have some questions.
Sure.
Well, I've got a couple more comments. One of the reasons why a parking agreement was put in place was the development has, I believe, 197 spaces. This development has townhomes. There's going to be a restaurant there. There's going to be an office building there. 40 spaces were set aside for the office building. 8 spaces were set aside for the event space. That is per our zoning ordinance. I think it's 1 space for every 400 square feet.
Correct, because the zoning ordinance doesn't speak directly to event center parking. It's considered an all other use under commercial and entertainment uses, so it falls in a catch-all category. And actually, hotels do have a requirement, but it's 1 per 500 square feet of event space, so, yeah.
The event space capacity is 400 people. That is maximum capacity of the event space. So what Planning Commission saw was that there could be a parking issue. The solution to that was to develop a parking plan and to ensure that the developer make sure that that they have somewhere to park vehicles when we have an event. That's how we got to where we are with the parking agreement.
Correct, and our planning director wrote in the resolution for conditional use approval, he wrote you just a nice statement. If you guys were inclined to approve this, it says, with the condition that the applicant must establish and maintain a shared parking agreement to accommodate any max capacity events that exceed on-site parking. That's the one that you intended, correct, Justice?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay.
Yes. Is now the appropriate time to have questions for staff? Have questions?
You can
for-
ask questions and open the public hearing whenever you want, but we can get all this out there now before you. open the
Can
public
we
hearing,
ask
so.
questions before we open the public
Sure,
hearing?
absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go ahead and do that. Could I ask questions of the developer?
That's up to the council. I
Yeah,
don't see why
council
not.
okay with that? All right. Would you like to start that?
I'd like to start there.
Mr. Stone? You would, for the record, tell us who you are and where you live.
Good evening, Brian Stone with BC Stone Homes. Office address is 687 North Dean Road.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Stone. Would you be able just to give us a description of how you intend this space to be used and the type of events that
Sure.
you see going here?
Yeah, it's just clear a couple things up on that. So it's 4,300 square feet of total space. There's only about 3,000 square feet of actual event space. And according to our architects, and we're in the middle of design, but our occupancy will actually only be 230 to 250. So the 400 is not going to be right for what we're doing. To put that in perspective, the occupancy of this room is 170. So we're talking about events that would hold 60 to 80 more people than this room. So we're not talking about large events. Examples, we really want to target corporate events. There's really not a environment for that. Common examples, Christmas parties, but also corporate trainings. They're just having a hub with good audio where people can come and, and corporations can have training events, small wedding receptions, graduation parties, civic functions, charity events. Those would be examples of kind of what we would, envision our clientele being. I think our cutoff time for events, because I know that was a concern earlier, we're okay, 11:30 p.m. being the max. We don't really envision this staying open late, and I don't think that would be anything we would be, we really don't envision this being a party atmosphere type place anyway. And again, we're in full agreement with the off-site parking requirements in the event week city. I'd like to also speak to that you have, of a 15,000 square foot building, 10,500 square feet of that is office space. Most of these events are going to be at nighttime when the office space is closed. So you do have a little bit of built-in buffer from a parking perspective, even before you get into the off-site parking, that those 40 spaces, there might be one or two people there in the evenings, but generally speaking, these things don't coincide when it comes to parking. And then we will definitely have a signage plan on site as it relates to our parking regarding rules about, because one concern you and I have spoken about is Cherry Street, people trying to park along Cherry Street. And it'll be clear in our rental agreements, it'll be clear with signage in the building and around the site that not only can they not park along Cherry Street, but they also can't park in the townhome part of the community as well. So, and I think we'll also have spaces probably reserved for the restaurant as well that, with signage delineating all that. So we plan to be pretty serious about that.
So you plan to manage that parking and enforce those?
Our office is going to be upstairs, so I obviously don't want people banging on the door mad at me because they can't get in their parking spots and all that. So me being there as well, I don't want to have to park somewhere and walk from offside as well. So I think you have some built-in buffer there.
Thank you very much.
Does anyone else have a question for Mr. Stone? Yes,
Before
sir.
you go, I'm a lot more comfortable now. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Is there a need, do you think, for off-site, like off-the-property parking?
I think there will be, especially, if there's ever a daytime event, I think that'll be the problem, more than anything when everybody's there. I do think, if you're being realistic, 250 people, if people come in groups of 2 to 3s and things like this, that could be a lot of cars if it was maxed out. So I would definitely think we would want to have either a valet service or a walkable, parking lot agreement with a nearby property owner or adjacent property owner.
Okay. We're still exploring, you're still exploring that option, I guess. Okay.
We are. We've talked to a few different folks about it. So I think we didn't want to go too far with anybody until we got an approval. Kind of getting the cart ahead of the horse.
Thank you, Mr. Stone.
Thanks.
I've expressed to Mr. Stone the importance of maintaining that no parking on Cherry Street. And I feel like he's also committed to making sure that that's the case as well. Before we open up the public hearing, I have a few questions for staff as well.
Please.
Is that good? How would the city enforce this if Mr. Stone was unable to do it?
So how would the city enforce if
Non-compliance.
there's non-compliance? First of all, it's typically complaint driven. If we start hearing from the adjacent residents or so on, then we're going to begin to look into it. I checked with the city attorney this afternoon about violations of zoning ordinance. So should you add this condition, and I need to remind you, you need to, even though it's in this resolution, you need to modify the condition if you plan to proceed with this. Somebody needs to make sure that you've already moved for approval, but you move for approval with the planning commission's condition, not this one that's in the latest resolution. So just to clarify the language there. At the end of the day, we would have to cite them for violating the zoning ordinance, which then goes to municipal court.
Would they be able to open the event center if they did not have a parking agreement in place?
Depends on the condition, Justice.
Yeah, I think that I'd agree with that. It depends on the condition.
If you add a condition and they don't produce that, Justice won't issue a zoning certificate that allows them to actually occupy as an event center, and then they can't get a business license either.
Okay, so a condition that the applicant must establish and maintain a shared parking agreement to accommodate any max capacity events that exceeds on-site parking is sufficient to do that.
Yeah, and it's also giving the planning director some leeway to be reasonable about that.
Yeah, that is correct. So the idea around this isn't that it would be on a case-by-case basis, that they'd have to get one for each individual event. It would really just be that for them to get the initial business license and just kind of operate there, they would have to present that there is an active agreement with another property owner somewhere establishing, hey, we have this many parking spaces in reserve at this location, here's our plan, kind of et cetera, et cetera. And so once they presented that to staff, then that would be a part of the process for them getting approval for this event space and opening up and getting a business or a zoning certificate.
And if that agreement ever expired?
It would have to be renewed. We're in the process. We're working with an existing one now. And so those are things that we do keep tabs on whenever there are any upgrades to the site or there's any modification of parking on site or we get complaints or anything. Those are things that we do ask are modified and then presented to staff.
All right, thank you very much.
Any other questions? Yes,
Yeah,
Kelly.
Did I hear that there will or will not be one occasion by occasion requests?
Will not be.
Yeah, there will not be.
It would be we're looking for a unilateral agreement where they just maintain at all times that they have some off-site parking. Whether they use it for valet or not, the owner did bring up an excellent point, which is it's fine with us if it's valet. We're just looking to have somewhere to put the cars that are not Cherry Street. And obviously Glen Avenue is not an option, nor the sidewalk.
And you mentioned they may need to change some wording. Is the wording that's in the agreement in front of us
The one that's in your,
to be a contingency type approval?
yeah, the one that's in your resolution, Justice had the planning commission resolution says something slightly different based on your request. You've adjusted this resolution for city council to say what it needs to say that's adequate. So I would just suggest, even though there's been a motion and a second, if you're inclined to proceed with this condition, is that somebody just move to amend to add the condition as written in the proposed resolution to you guys.
Okay. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Okay, I'll open the public hearing. If you'd like to address the council, please come forward and give us your name and address for the record. And you have 5 minutes.
Robert Wilkins, 261 Denson Drive. I originally didn't like this Cherry Street thing the first time when y'all voted for it. I think 2 of you didn't vote for it. The rest of you did. My concern is I go down Cherry Street, there are 4 duplexes, so eight families. And then you turn right on Birch Circle, which goes all the way around. I've done deliveries for all those areas. And I'm thinking this huge development that's going to be there, and it's right up against those people. I would hate to have owned a home on Birch Street as a single-family home because I believe there's going to be a lot more noise, a lot more difficulties from that. And I just, all it's been done with the 2030 plan is to basically, and I use terms and I don't mean it totally, but I do, and it's like bulldozing it down all the way to all those streets, all those areas to have businesses. But all those homes that are on that other side are not going to, eventually they'll just sell their homes. They will rent their homes, and then when that doesn't work, then they'll sell. And I believe in developers. I know a lot of times I talk about developments. I believe in it. I just don't believe in the way it's done sometimes. I can give you an example of the development on Farmville. There was a lot more space there, was a lot more open, and y'all voted it down unanimously because so many people showed up. Nobody hardly showed up for the Cherry Street, so it's fine to do that. I just hope that, and I know it's too late to do nothing there, but I just believe that it was the wrong thing to have done on Cherry Street because you're destroying our community. I talked a lot about short-term rentals. Well, short-term rentals, we never did anything as bad as just one developer could do over time, and I think it's just horrible that it's done this way. But hey, I'm just totally for or against it. Not for, but against.
Anyone else? Okay, close the public hearing. Excuse me.
I would like to clarify, there's no business that is adjoining the back of the property, correct?
Not the back of the property, that's where the townhomes are.
Those are townhomes? Yes.
Yeah. The townhomes for this development are toward the back of the property along the Glen Avenue frontage. You do have one, kind of where the driveway comes out on Cherry Street, correct? You do have an adjacent residence.
Yeah, that's correct. So the restaurant kind of goes into the back of it. I guess that's on the west side of it, but I guess it's a rectangle, and I guess the western side of that rectangle is kind of where the office and the restaurants are.
Yeah, you have a drawing in your packet. The red outline building is where the event center is going to go along Glen Avenue, and then the restaurant parcel is closer to Cherry Street, but at the front.
I do have one more comment. Mr. Wilkins seemed to be discouraged that no one came to speak against the Cherry Street development when it first came up. I spoke to multiple residents in this area, all of which were extremely excited about the possibility of having at the time, a brewery and a restaurant that was in walking distance of their homes. I showed the development pictures and layouts to multiple people. I received nothing but positive feedback on that. I was looking for negative comments. I was looking for people that had an issue with it so that we could try and address those issues. There were none. No one addressed me at the time. I believe that one reason, Mr. Wilkins, that no one that no one came and spoke at the time was because the majority of Auburn citizens did not have a problem with this development. I'll be supporting it.
Anyone else have a comment, question, thought?
Question, so buildings 3 and 4, I'm sorry, 2 and 3, in the back part will be townhomes. The ones that back up to the existing homes on Birch Circle.
Yeah, that's correct.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
All right.
Now here comes
wanna
the
move to
technical
amend
part.
the condition?
I move to amend the condition to reflect the conditional use approval that is that's in our packet. Is that sufficient?
Second.
Sufficient.
Okay, all right, we have a motion second. All in favor of voting for the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now do we need to approve the
Yes,
All right,
the whole thing.
whole thing, all right? Got that? Another motion, second.
Yeah.
No,
Make
you
a
already had a
motion.
motion and a second. You just need to
Vote.
vote.
Just need to vote, all right? All right,
As
all in
amended.
favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Approved.
All right. We will move to contracts and agreements. Item 10B1 authorizes a design agreement with Cadre Engineering LLC for the North Donahue widening project from Sagahatchee Creek to Farmville Road, including the intersection of Farmville Road and North Donahue Drive, in the amount of $762,640.
Move for approval.
Second. Motion is second. Any comments or questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries.
Item 10B2 authorizes a 2-year contract with Match and McChesney for an independent audit for fiscal year 2025 in the amount of $142,000 and fiscal year 2026 in the amount of $158,000 for a 2-year total of $300,000.
Move for approval.
Second.
Second. A motion is second. Any comments or questions?
Yes, I do have some comments about this one. Mr. Wilkins had asked us what the value of this agreement is. He also seemed to imply that the local accounting firm that we use doesn't really provide what he would consider a thorough audit. Could we have staff speak to that?
We'd love to. I will tell you that just a few quick things. We always, it is standard practice for governments like us to use independent auditing agencies. We do not contract with the state. I'm sure they do a fine job, but they're also way backed up with things, and being backed up causes them to not be able to deliver audits in a timely fashion. If we don't deliver an audit in a timely fashion, we can't issue any debt. We're growing leaps and bounds, and it'd be very problematic for us if we cannot borrow funds to deal with infrastructure that is needed. And so I'm going to have, unfortunately, Allison Edge is a little under the weather this evening, and a lot of you have seen Heidi Lowry around. You've seen her in our budget hearings. She's one of our financial gurus, been with us a long time, does an excellent job. Her official title is Accounting and Financial Reporting Manager, but I also like to call her Assistant Finance Director because I just like to do that. Heidi's extremely knowledgeable, and what I'd like her to go through is there's some banter about a 4-page opinion letter that you got, but I want to talk about the 500 hours that Match and McChesney spends on our audit on an annual basis. And Heidi's not going to give you 500 hours worth of explanation, but she is going to tell you all the things that they do that go into the audit. Heidi.
Yes, so I looked, and our 5-year average is about 550 hours. I mean, year to year, that can vary depending on what kind of GASB statements we have implemented, what new funds we have. So it depends, but the average is 550. We have a comprehensive list that we get, and we prepare over 100 items that they go through. They are with us from mid-November to the end of March through our audit report. They go through every single account. They look at any account variances. They do our notes to our annual financial report. They look at internal control. They review for fraud detection and prevention. Do we have procedures in place to keep us from having fraud upon us? We are ensuring compliance with federal funding requirements, generally accepted accounting and auditing standards, governmental accounting standards, compliance supplements, and implementation of any GASB standards that come up. So it's a lengthy list and a lot of hours that are put into our audit.
Would you consider that thorough?
I believe so, yes. I believe it's thorough.
Remind me
Just
how-
ask our accounting staff when year end gets here. Yes.
Remind me how many funds we have with the city that are required to be audited by the firm.
I think that Allison said the other day we have like 30 funds. So yes, it's a lot. Yes.
And if I'm not mistaken, the city council independently each receive a letter from Matchin requiring us to acknowledge the audit as well as an opportunity if we feel that something is not being handled in an appropriate manner, that is our time to directly speak to Matchin and indicate that.
Yes, that is correct. And those letters also go out to various outside, like third parties that we do business with. Our staff has also asked those questions.
I also want to clarify, this is for 2 audits.
This is for 2 audits, and that's why I said the $142,000 is for the fiscal 25 audit. We're going to close out the fiscal year at the end of September, and then this would be for the fiscal 26 audit at $158,000. Matchin has been with us a very long time. Our accounting is complicated. They also do peer reviews. They have a lot of other requirements. And there is nothing about the audit that is simple, but is absolutely required. Every bank and financial institution relies on this for lending to us. and is expected timely. And we also expect in the large financial report we issue the Auburn citizens, you guys get monthly financial reports, but that the Auburn citizens have full access to full audited financials that meet very standard accounting principles. And this is widely accepted coast to coast, north to south and east to west. This is very normal for cities to do this. And this is an independent audit. Matcham & Chesney is an outstanding local firm, and we do attempt to do business with our most local of firms who also sponsor baseball and softball teams, give back to the community. Folks live here and work here, and we choose to do business with Auburn firms when we can.
Megan, our finance team that we charge with working hand in glove with our auditor have been recognized time and time and time again, and year and year and year.
39 consecutive times, Ron,
For
I
their
believe.
excellent work. Is that not true?
Correct, and in order to meet all the timeframes also to be recognized for excellent work, we must use an independent firm because, again, the state does a good job, but they have a backlog of epic proportions, and it is hard for them to get to everybody's audit in a timely manner.
And we've maintained a AA plus bond rating for how long?
Oh, geez, I don't know the number of years. It's been a very long time, and the challenge is one of the first things they ask for is our financials.
So,
They come out of this audit.
So, rating agencies like the S&P and Moody's,
Standard & Poor's and Moody's, yes.
they would see these comprehensive financial statements and our finances, and their opinion is that they're of high quality.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes, yes.
Right, and we don't get the rating agencies that we get and lower interest rates if we don't have such an audit, or we can't get rated at all, as some people have run into. If you don't get your audit done, you don't get ratings and you can't issue debt.
Megan, an audit by nature is independence, right? You by appearance and by fact, you want independent. There's no control given to Matcham & Chesney during the audit process. They're monitoring our controls.
Correct.
To ensure that we have the proper internal controls in place to certify that we, are in good financial condition. Is that an accurate
Correct.
statement?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
The other thing is, you notice that we tell you they're unaudited financials, because as you notice, our year-end balances change from the time we close the books until we actually get the audited financials. Because of their audit work, some things do get changed. It's not bad, it's where things were accounted for, they may get moved by the nature of their audit, which follows a very strict standard that they have to comply with.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
So is it safe to say that Mr. Wilkins' recommendation to have the state conduct these audits, it would likely delay our overall audits and also put at risk our bond rating? Is it safe to say that?
Yes, that is correct.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we have a motion second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And the motion carries.
All right, item 10B3 authorizes a contract with Watley Construction LLC for the installation of the Lake Wilmore Park pool dehumidifying system in the amount of $970,900.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any comments or questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries.
We have one item of other business. Item 11A is a request from Friendship Foods doing business as Country's Barbecue for a special retail alcohol beverage license for 350 Duncan Drive for events on September 6th and 13th of 2025.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion is second. Comments, questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries.
Mayor, those are all the items of business we have for you this evening.
Okay, this time we'll open citizens' open forum. If you'd like to address the council about anything that be on your mind, please come forward and give us your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes to speak to the council.
Three times, I can't believe it. Auburn, good evening, Mayor and Council, and 261 Denson Drive, Auburn, Alabama, Robert Wilkins. Auburn, the city that we all love. Last month, my wife and I marked 10 years in Auburn. She grew up in Auburn. My experience has been wonderful, except for the discriminatory ordinance 3288, short-term rental, that was passed on March 16th, 2021 by the STR 5. The police department is excellent, even though I've received 2 tickets in my 10 years. Unfortunately, both were deserved. I once had a SUV battery dead and had an officer off-duty volunteer to jump my vehicle while he was with his family in downtown Auburn on a Sunday. The paramedics from the fire department have responded to 2 different 911 calls in my home concerning my wife, what caring and professional individuals they are. I've even delivered Uber Eats to a few of the fire department personnel with such a kind attitude. I want to thank the city council, city manager, city staff, and all the city council members that have taken my calls, met with me, responded to my emails, except for the mayor doesn't want to do that. I had an issue with my sewer, and the sewer department personnel were understanding, came quickly and worked on the issue while putting back my yard. I joined Lake Wilmore Recreational Center about a month ago and could not be asked for better front desk personnel or lifeguard at the pool. Even the maintenance staff are so polite. I have attended the 3 budget workshops, with the 4th budget workshop being Thursday from 3 to 5. Everyone should attend. I felt left out without having a full house of Auburn citizens soaking up the knowledge. The budgeted workshop has been excellent. Our city manager, Megan, and the department heads have done superb. A presentation on the city of Auburn on the present and future plans. I have learned we have 669 full-time employees, 3 regular part-time employees, and 341, I assume it's like seasonal part-time. There's at least 63 staff members that are a part of what I refer to as the E100, employees that make over $100,000 per year. But Auburn should not be feel alone. The largest city in Alabama, Huntsville, with over 2,700 full-time employees, have 243 employees in the E100 group. We citizens pay for these extreme salaries of employees in our cities, counties, states, and federal governments, with cost of living raise, merit raises, and many other raises. I will give my version of the budget workshop at the next council meeting. It was interesting.
Who'll be next? Closed citizens open forum. Anyone else? Anything? Is there a move to adjourn?
So moved.
We're adjourned.